I never thought one conversation could flip my entire world upside down. But that's exactly what happened the night her sister called me. At first, I didn't even want to pick up the phone. I thought it was just going to be something casual, maybe even awkward. But the words that came out of her mouth made my heart stop. That was the moment I realized everything I thought I knew about her was built on a lie. Let me back up for a second. When I first met her, it felt like one of those movie moments. Easy, effortless, almost too good to be true. She had this way of making you feel like you were the only person in the room. The way she laughed, the way she told stories, it all felt real. And for years, I believed every word she said. I trusted her completely. I never questioned a thing. Why would I? When someone looks you in the eye every day and swears they're being honest with you, you don't exactly go digging for secrets. But the strange thing about lies is they always leave little cracks. And those cracks started to show, slowly, like hairline fractures spreading across glass. A missed detail here, a story that didn't quite add up there. I brushed it off at first, convincing myself I was just overthinking. I didn't want to be that person, the paranoid one. But deep down, I knew something didn't feel right. It wasn't until her sister stepped in that everything changed. Out of nowhere, she reached out to me, her voice heavy like she had been holding something in for years. She didn't waste time with small talk. She just dove straight in, like she had been waiting for the moment to finally get it off her chest. And the more she spoke, the more I felt my stomach twist. The truth wasn't just shocking, it was devastating. And the craziest part? Her sister told me she never meant for me to find out this way. She said she had tried to stay out of it for as long as she could, but what she knew was too big, too damaging to keep hidden forever. I remember sitting there in silence, the phone pressed against my ear, trying to process every word. My mind was racing back through every memory, every conversation, every promise she ever made to me. And suddenly, pieces of the puzzle started snapping into place in the worst possible way. I couldn't believe it. After years of trust, of building a life together, of believing in the version of her she showed me, I realized that maybe I never really knew her at all. And here's the part that still haunts me. Her sister said there was more. That what she told me was just the beginning. I didn't know it then, but the truth she was about to reveal next would change everything. When I first met her, it felt like stepping into a different world. She wasn't just charming. She had this presence that pulled you in, like a magnet. We met through friends at a small gathering. Nothing special, but somehow we just clicked. She told me about her dreams, her struggles, her family. At least, what I thought was her family. Back then, I had no reason to question anything. She spoke with such confidence, such detail, that every story she shared felt solid, unshakable. Our relationship grew fast. We spent hours talking about life, late nights where we promised each other the future would be ours. It wasn't just words either. We built routines, memories, little traditions that felt sacred. Sunday mornings were for pancakes. Wednesday nights, we'd walk by the lake and talk about everything and nothing. It felt real. And in a way, that's what makes what happened later cut so deep. Because if you asked me then, I would have sworn on my life that I knew her better than anyone else in the world. But here's the thing I didn't notice, or maybe refused to notice. Her stories never involved much about her past. She'd skim over childhood memories, brush off questions about old friends, and get strangely vague when I asked about certain timelines. At first, I thought, okay, maybe she's just private. Maybe she doesn't like talking about the past. But over time, those small gaps started stacking up. And when I brought it up, she always had some smooth, comforting explanation that made me feel guilty for even asking. The one person who seemed to notice more than me was her sister. We weren't close in the beginning, but she was always around during holidays, family events, or the occasional visit. At first, I thought she was just reserved, maybe even a little cold toward me. She never really opened up, never seemed to laugh as easily as her sister did. I figured she just didn't like me. But now, looking back, I realized that what I took as distance might have actually been her carrying something heavier, something she couldn't say outright. Still, I trusted her. I ignored the subtle tension between the sisters, the way her sister's eyes would sometimes linger on me, almost like she wanted to say something but couldn't. I brushed it off, convinced myself it was all in my head. Years went by, and our relationship looked perfect from the outside. Friends would say, "You two are goals," and I'd smile, proud, thinking I had it all figured out. But beneath the surface, There was this quiet storm building, one I couldn't see, because I was too caught up in the picture-perfect version of us she worked so hard to show me. And then, one night, her sister finally broke the silence. She looked at me with this weight in her eyes, and I could tell. This wasn't just gossip. This wasn't something small. She was about to rip the curtain down. But she didn't say it all at once. Instead, she started with a question, one that made my heart sink before she even revealed the truth. Her sister sat across from me, her hands clenched so tightly I could see her knuckles turn white. She didn't dive right into it. She just asked me one simple question. Do you really know who she is? At first, I laughed nervously, thinking it was some kind of joke. But the look in her eyes told me she wasn't joking. My chest tightened. Of course I knew her, I thought. I'd spent years of my life with her. I knew her favorite foods, her biggest fears, the way she hummed under her breath when she was anxious. I knew everything, didn't I? But her sister's silence dragged on, and I felt a chill crawl up my spine. She finally spoke, her voice steady but heavy. She's been lying to you for years. The words hit me like a punch. My brain scrambled, trying to grab onto something, anything, that made sense. What did she mean? About what? Why would she lie? My thoughts spun so fast it felt like I couldn't breathe. I pushed her for answers, desperate, but she didn't spill everything at once. Instead, she gave me fragments, like she was testing how much I could handle. She told me that parts of her sister's past, the stories I'd heard 100 times, weren't just bent or exaggerated. They were completely fabricated. I couldn't process it. My mind kept replaying every moment, every detail of our life together, and suddenly things I'd brushed off before came roaring back, sharper this time. The times she avoided certain people in public. The nights she disappeared with vague excuses. The way she'd get defensive whenever I asked too many questions. The more her sister spoke, the more the ground beneath me felt like it was breaking apart. Anger mixed with fear, confusion tangled with heartbreak. Was I living beside a stranger all this time? And just when I thought I couldn't take any more, her sister leaned in closer. Her voice dropped, almost to a whisper, as if someone else might be listening. There's something she never told you, something that explains why she built all those lies in the first place. My stomach dropped. My hands shook. I wanted to demand the truth right then, but part of me was terrified to hear it. Because if what her sister was saying was real, then my entire relationship, my entire life with her, wasn't just a lie. It was a trap. And her sister was about to show me just how deep that trap went. Her sister's words hung in the air like a storm cloud that refused to break. My mind screamed for clarity, but she stayed quiet for a moment, almost as if she was measuring whether I was ready to hear what she had carried for so long. The silence between us grew heavier, and I could feel my pulse pounding in my ears. Finally, she spoke again, slow, deliberate. She didn't just lie to you about small things. She lied about who she is. The way she said it made my chest tighten. Who she is? What does that even mean? I tried to laugh it off, but the sound came out cracked, nervous. I told her she had to be mistaken, that maybe she was exaggerating. But deep down, I knew she wasn't. Something in her eyes told me this wasn't some petty sibling rivalry or jealousy. This was bigger. She leaned closer, lowering her voice. All those stories she told you about her past, about what she went through, about where she came from, none of them are real. She built them. I froze. Built them? Like a character in a book? Suddenly, flashes of her stories replayed in my head. The ones that seemed too perfect, too dramatic, almost rehearsed. The gaps I ignored before started piecing together into a chilling pattern. I asked her sister why. Why would anyone go so far, for so long, to create a different life? That's when her sister's expression shifted. It wasn't anger. It wasn't even sadness. It was fear. She had to hide something, she whispered. The words sank deep, twisting inside me. Hide something. I pressed her, desperate to know what it was, but she hesitated. She bit her lip, her eyes darting like she was afraid someone might hear her even though we were alone. That fear spread to me, crawling under my skin. What could possibly be so dangerous, so shameful, that she had to reinvent herself entirely? Her sister finally continued, her voice trembling now. She told me the lies weren't random. Every piece of her fabricated life was carefully chosen, designed to cover up the truth. And whatever that truth was, she had been running from it for years. I felt sick. My hands were clammy, my heart racing. I thought about all the nights I had held her, comforted her, trusted her. Was I just another part of her cover story? Had she been using me this entire time? Her sister's voice broke through my thoughts, sharper now, urgent. You need to understand. If you keep believing her, if you keep living in her version of things, you're going to get hurt. The weight of her warning crushed me. My chest felt heavy, like I was drowning. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, to run straight to her and force the truth out of her. But at the same time, I was terrified of what that truth might be. Her sister locked eyes with me then, steady and unblinking. There's something she never told you, something that explains everything. And once you know, you'll never see her the same way again. The room went still. My breath caught in my throat. And in that moment, I realized my entire world was about to collapse. I thought the truth about her identity would be the breaking point, but her sister wasn't finished. Just when I was trying to steady myself, she leaned in closer, her voice barely above a whisper. You're not the only one she's lied to. The words sent a shiver straight through me. I asked what she meant, but her sister didn't soften the blow. She told me there were others. People who had been caught in the same web, people who trusted her just like I did, only to find out too late that none of it was real. My heart dropped. Suddenly, the memories of her late nights at work, the phone calls she'd step outside to take, the random trips that never quite added up, they all came rushing back with terrifying clarity. But the real twist came when her sister said this. She doesn't just lie to protect herself. She lies because she needs something from the people she pulls in. And once she gets it, she moves on. I felt the air leave my lungs. Everything I believed in, every promise she made me, it wasn't just fake. It might have been part of a pattern. And I was starting to realize I wasn't her first. The moment I walked through the door that night, I knew I couldn't pretend anymore. My chest was pounding, my palms sweating, but I forced myself to face her. She looked up at me with that same easy smile, the one that used to calm me, the one that used to make me feel safe. But now, all I could see was the mask. I didn't waste time. I told her straight out what her sister had said, that her stories didn't line up, that her past wasn't what she claimed. At first, she laughed. She actually laughed, like I had just told her the most ridiculous rumor in the world. But when I didn't laugh with her, her smile faltered. Her eyes narrowed. What exactly did she tell you? That one question told me everything. She wasn't shocked. She wasn't confused. She was calculating. And that was when my anger boiled over. I demanded answers. I wanted the truth. For a moment, I thought she might deny it all again. But then, something changed in her face, like she was tired of running. She looked straight at me and said, Fine. You want the truth? I built a new life because I had to. My past, it's not just messy. It's dangerous. Dangerous. That word hit me hard. I asked her what she meant, my voice shaking. And she finally admitted it. She had been hiding not just from strangers, but from people who once knew her best. People who, according to her, weren't safe. My head spun. Was she protecting herself, or dragging me into something darker? But before I could even process, she dropped one last bombshell. If you stay with me after this, you need to understand, you'll never really be free of it. My past will become yours. I stood there frozen. Every memory, every moment we shared suddenly felt tainted, tangled in secrets I still didn't fully understand. I wanted to believe she was telling the truth this time, but how could I, after years of lies? And then, just when I thought I had reached my limit, her phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen, and the color drained from her face. It's them, she whispered. And in that instant, I realized the story wasn't over. It was only beginning. Her phone buzzed again, the screen lighting up like a warning signal in the dark. She didn't answer, but the fear in her eyes told me everything I needed to know. Whoever they weren't just part of her past. They were still very much in her present. I wanted to walk away right then. I wanted to drop it all and save myself from the mess she had dragged me into. But something stopped me. Maybe it was love, maybe it was stubbornness, or maybe it was just the weight of all the years we'd spent together. Whatever it was, I couldn't leave without hearing everything. So I sat down, looked her in the eyes, and said, No more half-truths. Tell me everything. And she did. Piece by piece, the puzzle came together. She told me the stories she made up, the lies she built brick by brick, were her way of creating a shield. She had been tangled up with people who weren't safe, and walking away from them meant reinventing herself completely. The sister, the family tension, the gaps in her timeline, they all made sense now. She wasn't just lying to me out of malice. She was lying because she was terrified of what might happen if the truth caught up with her. Was it wrong? Absolutely. Did it hurt me? More than I could explain. But sitting there, watching her break down as she admitted everything, I realized something. The lies weren't the whole story. Fear was. Survival was. And for the first time, I saw her not as the perfect version she had shown me, but as a flawed, scared, very human person who had made terrible choices to protect herself. Her sister had warned me I would never see her the same way again, and she was right. I didn't. But not because I hated her. It was because I finally saw her clearly. We didn't tie things up with some fairy tale ending. There were too many scars, too many wounds that couldn't just vanish. But we also didn't explode into chaos. We talked. We cried. And in the end, we agreed on one simple truth. Love can't survive without honesty. So we let go. Not with anger, not with shouting, but with the quiet acceptance that sometimes the past is too heavy to carry forward. I walked away that night carrying both heartbreak and relief. Heartbreak because I lost the person I thought I knew, and relief because, at last, I knew the truth. And if there's one thing I took from it all, it's this. Lies might protect us for a while, but they always demand a price. And when that price comes due, it's not just the liar who pays, it's everyone who believed in them. That was the night I stopped asking myself, who is she really? And started asking, who do I want to be, knowing the truth? And that question still stays with me.